Scion Mythic Shards is a backer kit project which will include the shard that I'm going over today, Space Odyssey. Now, it is currently on backer kit. It is at 32,000 at time of recording, but if it gets to 35,000, a new setting will be added to Mythic Shards. So get it over to 35,000 and we'll get that 6th shard. At Space Odyssey's basic level, it is essentially a retelling of the Odyssey set in space, where you play as Scions representing gods going into a new section of space. It's more like Lost in Space in that this section of space doesn't allow people to leave. In the distant future, the gods of old have sent out their Scions, their representatives, out into outer space to colonize it. And eventually some people will get lost in space and wind up in a section known as the Tenebrim, which apparently is a reference to the Odyssey that I forgot about after reading that. It is essentially a space Bermuda Triangle where spaceships tend to get lost, and that's where a lot of these godlike beings and denizens that haven't been seen forever. The inspiration for the setting comes from stuff like Star Trek, I would assume probably Voyager, as that's more lost in space-like. And then there's Farscape, Red Dwarf, Andromeda, Firefly, Mobile Suit Gundam, and Babylon 5. Now, for me, Red Dwarf really exemplifies the setting because it takes place 3 million years into the future as someone gets taken out of cryosleep and finds out that everyone on the ship is dead except for a hologram of his old bunkmate, a robot that is senile, and an evolved life form that evolved from his pet cat. Now, you're stranded out in deep space and you're just trying to survive, and that's kind of where this setting seems to be going. The main mechanical stuff they've added are starships. They have 5 attributes, which are amenities, which is how livable the ship is, engineering, which is the ship's defenses and ease of repair, maneuverability, which is how fast the ship is and how agile it can be, sensors, which are the ship's capability of detecting and analyzing the outside world, and then weaponry, which is the ship's attack capabilities. They have paths as well, such as the origin path for the purpose of the ship, the crew path, which is the general disposition of the crew, and the destiny path, which is the shared goal of both the crew and the ship. Now, when you create the ship, you get 7 dots of attributes that can go across the 5 I mentioned previously, and they all start at 1 by default. There are 4 injury levels that the ships have, and you can choose a size, and that's typically about 3 to 4 for a ship that your players are going to be using during the course of the game. The ship does have character advancement, so as you get XP, you can increase the legend to increase one of the attributes the ship has. Additionally, there are actions for the ship. They're called ship actions, and they're usually for things like repair and reconfiguring shields. There are other things that Scions can do while on board, such as gaining an enhancement when using powers as part of a ship action. That'll help you basically boost your rolls while inside there. You can boost crew morale to avoid complications. You can take evasive maneuvers in order to evade other ships. There's hyper jumping, which allows you to plot out your course to another section of space. And then there's stuff like major repairs to remove injuries from the starship, scanning and surveying to get more clarifying information about an area, such as planets or nearby spacecraft. And then there are ship-to-ship combat rules, which are pretty self-explanatory, really. That's just a quick overview of the ship actions. They have a lot more in-depth rules that you can get once you get the PDF itself. Again, link down below. As part of the optional rules for this game, you can make sure that your players have access to flashbacks. You, as the story guide or as a player, can flesh out a character's backstory from the time before you got stranded in space. Now, the expectation is that you're going to be playing in the Tenebrim system, and that's sort of what a lot of this book is built around, though I don't see any reason why you can't just take the rules for spacecraft and maybe just expand it to the Tenebrim system is sort of just a section of space that you're able to go in and out of as you see fit. But the idea is to sort of harken back to the Odyssey as far as I can tell. It's just my personal opinion on that. There are also a variety of alien creatures known as the Tenebrins, who are basically denizens or Titan spawn usually. And the list that I have here are the Keprins, which are insectoid bipeds. They're sort of like beetles with wings on their back. They're the Labyrinthines, which look very similar to Minotaurs and actually come from a pocket dimension known as the Labyrinth. There are the Lumivores, who are dark-scaled humanoids with serpent-like bodies instead of legs and eat radiation. You have the Mycreans, who are reminiscent of Nordic dwarves, and they're technological masters, so they're all about forging new technologies and things of that nature. The Namazoans are these tall amphibious creatures. You have the Oncarians, who are bipedal jaguars that can shift into human form. You have the Ceramides, who are nymphs made of technology. So they're like, instead of having a water nymph, you have a nymph of like wires and cabling and stuff, which is just weird. You have the Unconquerables, who are beings made of living stone. The Volpari, who are fox-like bipeds known for their wit and intelligence. And the Yagans, who are long-limbed tree forest folk with psionic abilities. I wish there was like a thing here that shouted out the Cyclops or something like that. There probably isn't. I might have just missed it. But there are other people who are associated with this territory as well. There are the Buzzards, who are your pirates or bandits that will either extort newcomers or attack them on sight for loot, essentially. There's the Traveling Empire, which is the Scion dynasty made up of these fortress ships that can travel hyperspace with expert precision. You have the Perihelion Complex, a Scion Titan-led corporation that offers its services to many worlds. The Dwellers, who have these great leviathans that swim through space and just pull apart starships. The Dwellers are the great leviathan type creatures. I don't believe there is a faction that actually controls them. The gods in the Tenebrim are like those of Earth, but through the lens of the local population, with some changes from planet to planet. So maybe Athena on one planet is seen as a fox-like being because the Volpari are worshipping Athena, and additionally maybe one of her callings is slightly different or something like that. Demigodhood and godhood are very rare in the Tenebrim, and there's only one god who is known to dwell there, which is Nyx. And they lead the House of Night, which is sort of this faction around her. Or them, I forget. If you think this is a cool setting and want other people to find it, please click the like button below. It really helps other people find out about this stuff. As well, if you want to check out any of the links down below for Scion stuff, please do. So one of them will probably be an affiliate link. And then over here is a video I did on Scion Heroes.